When world leaders choose their rides, they aren't just picking transportation, they're broadcasting a bit of a message, aren't they? And sometimes that message is one that can save their life, or also could be a message that violates international laws, as you will see. Now, most people think that state cars are kind of just fancy limos with little flags sticking up. Maybe some of them have bulletproof glass or something. Well, here's what they actually are. They're rolling policy statements, and they really can alter the course of nations. And today we're going to look at 5 state cars that have changed politics, violated laws, as we said, or redefined what power looks like in the modern world. Let's go back to France, August the 22nd, 1962. President Charles de Gaulle is heading from the airport with his wife when suddenly machine gun fire erupts from multiple positions. This is the OAS, a paramilitary group that really does not appreciate de Gaulle's decision to grant Algeria independence. 14 gunmen, over 150 rounds fired, 2 tires blown out completely, the rear window shattered. But this is where it gets interesting. De Gaulle's convoy, you see, isn't riding in some armoured tank. They're riding in a Citroen DS19, a car that looks a bit like a spaceship rather than a presidential vehicle. I mean, I guess it did back in the day. I looked at a picture of it, and it kind of just looks a bit dated now, like an old Citroen. While the bodyguards are returning fire, de Gaulle's driver, Francois Moreau, floors it through the ambush. The car's doing 70 miles per hour on 2 blown-out tyres, and it's still perfectly level. Now, the thing is, the DS had this bizarre suspension system that Citroen called hydropneumatic. Instead of traditional springs, it used pressurized fluid and gas spheres. The car could literally adjust its own right height on the fly. Like that's something any reasonably nice car can do today. You could jack it up and change a tire without a jack. It could drive on 3 wheels if it had to. And most importantly for de Gaulle, when those bullets shredded the rear tires at Petit Clermont, the self-leveling system kept the car stable enough to escape. Paul Maget, the engineer who designed the system, later said that in any other car, they would have crashed immediately. 2 blown tires at that speed, and the car should have been uncontrollable. Instead, the DS's suspension automatically compensated for the pressure loss, maintaining ride height and keeping the wheels aligned, even as rubber was disintegrating beneath them. De Gaulle's reaction? The man barely flinched. Badass. His wife, Yvonne, had glass in her hair from the shattered window. De Gaulle brushed it off, turned to her and said, "Gosh, they're really bad shots." I added the gosh, and I assumed this was in French. The assassination attempt wasn't just another close call, it fundamentally changed France. Within 2 months, de Gaulle used the attack to justify a referendum that completely restructured how the French president was elected, switching to direct universal suffrage instead of an electoral college system. The attack gave him the political capital to reshape the entire constitution. As for the OAS gunmen, they were caught, tried, and the ringleader was executed by firing squad. Remember, it's the 60s. And it was actually the last execution by firing squad in French history. Fun fact, or maybe not so fun. As for the DS itself, it became the symbol of French executive power. Every French president rode in one until 1995. Citroen's engineers weren't trying to build a survival capsule for heads of state. They were just obsessed with making a really comfortable ride. They spent years developing those weird hydraulic spheres because they wanted a car that could cruise over cobblestones nicely. And it just really happened to help out de Gaulle. After November 1963, the United States Secret Service had a bit of a priority. Never again. What followed was 5 decades of, just in case you didn't know, that was when JFK was shot. Just for our international audience. What followed was 5 decades of turning the presidential limo into something that barely qualifies as a car anymore. The current version debuted in 2018, and it looks like a Cadillac. But that's where the similarities end. The Secret Service calls it Stagecoach. Everybody else calls it, more appropriately, the Beast. And it is a beast. This thing weighs somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000 pounds. For context, that's about the same as 3 normal Cadillacs if they were stacked on top of each other. The doors alone are 8 inches thick and weigh as much as a Boeing 757 cabin door. And by the way, if you want to just have movies and TV shows ruined for you, look at the Beast in any TV show. The door's like this thin. Look at the Beast in real life, it's like this. Anytime I watch House of Cards, I'm like, oh, come on now. Now, the Secret Service doesn't publish a spec sheet for obvious reasons, but here's what's been reported by former agents and defense journalists. The cabin is hermetically sealed against chemical attacks with its own oxygen supply. The windows have 5 layers of glass and polycarbonate that won't even crack under direct assault rifle fire. The body armor is a classified composite. Some reports say it's 5 inches thick, but we just don't know. The tires are Kevlar reinforced run flats that can even drive at escape speed when they're completely shredded. There's night vision cameras, there's an encrypted satellite phone, it's got tear gas on board, smoke screens, and reportedly it carries bags of the president's blood type just in case. The fuel tank is armor-plated and filled with a special foam that prevents it from exploding even if it takes a direct hit. And speaking of fuel, estimates this is getting somewhere around 4 miles a gallon. Which, I mean, kind of not bad, given all it is. But here's the twist that most people don't know. There isn't just one beast, there's an entire fleet of them. They're all identical, basically. When the president travels, multiple beasts move in the motorcade simultaneously. The Secret Service literally uses identical decoys to create uncertainty about which one the president's actually in. For travel, it gets loaded onto a C-17 Globemaster military transport, along with an entire mobile command center. When the president lands somewhere, the beast is already waiting for him. Actually, multiple beasts are already waiting for him, which is nice. You don't have to worry about rental cars. There's a special truck just to carry the president's backup limo. There's another vehicle that jams cell phone signals. Another one carries electronic countermeasures. The whole motorcade can be up to 45 vehicles long, and that's not counting the helicopters overhead and the agents stationed along the route hours in advance. Every president since Nixon has ridden in increasingly fortress-like vehicles, but the beast takes it to an almost absurd level. It's so heavy it can't cross some bridges. It's so wide it barely fits in standard road lanes. It's so complex that it needs its own team of specialized mechanics who travel ahead to every location. Maybach? Maybach? I'm going to go with Maybach. The United Nations has banned luxury goods from entering North Korea since 2006. No fancy watches, no yachts, no high-end cars. The idea is simple: pressure the regime by denying them the fun bits of wealth. But still, Kim Jong-un regularly shows up to events in a Mercedes Maybach X600 Guard. That is a $500,000 armored limo. He's also been spotted in a Rolls-Royce Phantom. And these are not old cars from before the sanctions. They are recent models. So, how do you smuggle multiple tons of German engineering, in the terms of Rolls-Royce, British engineering, right? It's still owned by BMW. Maybe it's still owned by BMW. Damn. So, Rolls-Royce. Well, in 2019, a research group called C4ADS decided to follow the breadcrumbs. In October 2018, 2 Mercedes Maybach S600 Guards left a dealership in Rotterdam. The paperwork says they were headed to China. But that is just the beginning. Rotterdam to Dalian, China, then to Japan, then to Busan, South Korea. Normal shipping so far. But then the ship's transponders go dark. When they reappear, oh look, they're in Vladivostok in Russia. The cars, though, they're gone. The UN panel of experts tracked down the vehicle identification numbers, the VINs, and these exact cars were photographed in Pyongyang 3 months later. The likely final leg, well, that was from an Ilyushin IL-76 cargo plane from Vladivostok, taking them straight to North Korea. And here's what makes this fascinating. Daimler, which owns Mercedes, swears they never sold these cars to North Korea, and they're probably telling the truth. The cars went through at least 6 shell companies across 5 countries. By the time they reached Pyongyang, the paper trail was so convoluted that nobody could legally prove who sold what to whom. The ships involved? Registered in Togo, Sierra Leone, and Panama. Classic flags of convenience that ask 0 questions. The companies that do the buying, well, they basically exist for one transaction and then they disappear. The whole operation is designed to create plausible deniability at every step. But this isn't just about fancy cars. The same networks that smuggle Kim's limos also move weapons, nuclear technology, and sanctioned materials. But here's another twist that happened in 2024. Putin straight up gifts Kim Jong-un an Aurus Senate. That's Russia's presidential limo, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. No smuggling required, just one sanctioned leader giving another sanctioned leader a car that itself is prohibited under sanctions. The UN's response? You've been a very naughty boy, because apparently that's what the UN does best. Think about what these cars represent for Kim. Every time he rolls up in that Maybach, he's not just showing wealth, he's showing that sanctions can't touch him, that he can get whatever he wants, whenever he wants it. The car itself becomes propaganda. Look, the world tried to isolate us, and here I am in a new Mercedes. Fuck you, world. This Maybach's nice. At Vladimir Putin's inauguration in 2018, for the first time in modern Russian history, the president didn't arrive in a Mercedes. He's arriving in an Aurus Senat, a Russian-built limousine from the Cortez project. The message was impossible to miss. Russia doesn't need Western luxury. Oh, no. We can build our own luxurious cars. Kinda, as you will see. The Cortez project, which literally means motorcade, started in 2013 with a budget of $190 million. The goal: create an entirely domestic luxury car platform to replace the Mercedes S-Class Pullman Guards that Russian leaders had been using since the Soviet Union collapsed. NAMI, the State Automotive Institute, led the development. The specs: a twin-turbo 4.4-litre V8 producing 598 horsepower, 9-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive. The armored version weighs 6.5 tons and could reportedly withstand assault rifle fire and grenade blasts. By 2021, they'd started public production at a factory in Yelabuga in Tatarstan. Not just limos, though, they're building a whole lineup: sedans, minivans, SUVs, even a motorcycle, all under the Aurus brand. The price for a civilian version? About $250,000, though good luck actually buying one. The waiting list is rather long. Stick with Mercedes. Putin made sure everyone saw him in this. G20 summits, meeting with Trump in Helsinki, Victory Day parades. Every appearance was a statement. Look what we could build without you, you knobs. But, as we probably hinted at a little bit earlier, there's a bit of a twist that ruins all of this. Reuters dug into the customs data, and it turns out the purely Russian Aurus, not so pure after all. The project relies heavily on foreign components: Bosch electronics from Germany, transmissions with South Korean parts, various components from China, even some pieces that can be traced back to the United States. Yep, the engines were developed with help from Porsche. Even the assembly line itself was built with imported equipment. This isn't just about one car. The Aurus represents Russia's entire import substitution strategy, the idea that they can replace Western products with domestic alternatives. And what it reveals is that even with unlimited government money, as $190 million, and political will, you can't just opt out of global supply chains. But Putin's still getting his money worth from the propaganda angle. Remember the Aurus that he gifted Kim Jong-un? That wasn't just a gift, it was a message. Hey buddy, we're both sanctions. We can both build our own luxury goods. We don't need the others, do we? I wonder what Kim's still riding around in. It's definitely that Maybach, isn't it? Because it's going to be nicer. It's a Maybach. Except, well, they do need those outside goods. Even this symbol of independence depends on a global network of suppliers. The car is real, it's impressive even, but it's not the pure domestic triumph that they claim it is. They're now exporting the Aurus to friendly countries. The UAE ordered a bunch, so did China. Belarus got some at mates rates. Each sale is positioned as proof that Russian engineering can compete globally. And look, the Aurus is by all accounts a decent luxury car, but it is not the declaration of independence that Putin wants it to be. In 2002, for a golden jubilee, Bentley gave the Queen a nice gift: 2 completely bespoke state limousines. Not modified production cars, these were built from scratch specifically for the British monarch. Which is cool. I'm not the biggest fan of the royal family and all that stuff, but it is cool having Bentley make a specific car for you. The engineering brief was fascinating. Make it imposing but not threatening, visible but protected, traditional but modern. Oh, and make sure that the Queen can be seen clearly while wearing a hat. She loves hats. I mean, she's dead now, so she doesn't like hats anymore, but she did like hats. The car is 83 centimeters longer than a standard Bentley Arnage. The roof is raised by 10 centimeters, specifically so ceremonial headwear doesn't get crushed. The rear doors open to nearly 90 degrees so the monarch can exit gracefully in a formal dress. Under the hood, a 6.75-litre twin-turbo V8 producing 400 horsepower. Transmission specially geared for parade speed. It can cruise at 4 miles per hour without overheating. The armor plating is classified, but reports suggest it's blast-resistant and the cabin can be sealed against gas attacks. The glass is thick enough to stop rifle rounds, but optically perfect so photographers can still get clear shots. The whole thing weighs about 4 tons. Bentley only built 2, one for use, one as a backup. Combined cost, 10 million quid. And here's another fun fact. These cars they don't have a license plate. You see, the sovereign is the only person in the UK who can legally drive without a license or registration. You see, driver's licenses are issued in the monarch's name. Number plates are a form of royal permission. You can't give yourself permission, so no license, no plates, no tickets. Which is nice. The Bentley state limousines are still in use today. King Charles III uses them for state occasions, coronations, visits from foreign dignitaries. They're not the newest cars in the royal fleet. That would be the Range Rovers for everyday use, but they are the ones that matter for the big moments. And that's our roundup of the cars. I hope you liked them. Thank you for being here.